Or Section 7, the brake system maintenance, the general brake shoe, the replacement slack adjust, the replacement brake shift, the cam, and the replacement glad hand, replacement spring brake control valve, replacement electronic control unit, operating testing, electronic control unit, replacement ABS wheel sensor, brake chamber replacement, front reserve maintenance, rear reserve maintenance for the air reserve service for testability, dump valve, the replacement air brake hose, replacement and repair, air brake system and hose diagram, general warning under the air under 100 psi is used for the operation of the air brake system. The sheet for the injury death can result with the precaution to not take with the maintain adequate air with the pressure. The following paragraphs cover see the testing, remove the installation of the brake shoe, assemble the brake air chamber, and assembly the relay valve, the ration relay valve, the air reserve of the airline. These paragraphs are cover the cleaning of the inspection repair of the airlines. The servo the brakes are airtight with the automatic brake airway protection. When the semi-trailer brake is properly connected with the servo the brake system of the towing vehicle, the brake pedal operates for the brake of both vehicles. Brake shoe replacement task cover the removal, the inspection, installation. The tire assembly is removed. The hump and drum of the assembly is removed. The tool test equipment is mechanical general. Remove the full circle retainer rings 1, flat washers 2, with the withdrawal of the bolt group pin 3, with the bushings 4, with remove the 2 sleeve with the bushings retainer clip 7, the swing back of the brake shoe 5, with remove the shoe from the returning spring 8, and remove both sleeve bushings 6. Inspection inspect the spring for the rust of the bobbies, defects, excessive wear, replace the defective spring, inspect the brake shoe lining of the wear of the brake surface within 3/16 of an inch of the rivet, the heads of the grease that is present to replace the brake shoe. Installation, assembly of the return spring with the return spring 8 with the retainer clip 7 with the sleeve bushing 6 with the brake shoe 5 with the burst in the brake shoe 5 on the axle spider with completing the connection with the return spring 8 with the both brake shoe, spread each of the 5 of the part with the insert with the braking 4 bushing 4 groove pin 4 3 the flat washers 2 and the retaining rings 1. Following the task, install the hub and the drum assembly with the 461 and adjust the engine, install the tire assembly 438 and adjust slack adjuster 448. Alright, 448 slack adjuster replacement, removal, cleaning, inspection, installation, and adjustment. Initial setup of the brakes cage, the material parts, clip in the pin kit, clean compound, brush, Loctite, tool testing equipment, toolkit, mechanical, general clevis, installation gauge, general safety instruction. Make sure the brakes are caged prior to the performing maintenance for the slack adjuster. Warning: to avoid personal damage to the equipment, make sure the brakes are caged prior to the performing the maintenance for the slack adjuster. You put the snap the ring with the plier with the remove of the snap ring 6 with the flash washer 5 from the clamshaft 7. Turn adjusting screw 4 with the counterclockwise release the tension of slack adjuster 8 with the back off a quarter 1 and 1.25 inch slack adjuster nut 2 with the up until the separator of the slack adjuster clevis 3 loosen 5/16 of an inch slack the slash adjuster 8 off the camshaft 7. Slack adjuster replacement, continued cleaning. The remove of the surface of the dirt with the water and brush. Warning: the solvent can be easily with the can give it off harmful labor to harmful skin clothing. To avoid depth, keep it away from the open fire. Keep the well ventilated area. And soap with the skin cleaning of the water. Wash immediately with the soap with the water. Remove the grease and oil with the cleaning compound. Dry thoroughly. Lubricate in accordance with the air appendix I with the lubricating instructions. Inspection, inspect the damage with the condition of the spline with the replace the defective missing parts. Inspect the rust or corrosion. D. Installation set the 15/16 of an inch jam nut and 2/5/8 of an inch from the air of the chamber. Slide the 1 1/4 inch of the slack adjuster nut onto the chamber shaft until it makes a contact with the jam nut 1. Install the slack adjuster 8 onto the camshaft 7. Install the flat washer snap 5 and the snap ring 6. Note: turn the adjusting screw 4 with the clockwise to the clevis 3 with the air chamber shaft 9. Slack adjuster replacement continue. Using the adjusting screw with the 4 with the again alignment the clevis of the chamber shaft to turn the 1 1/4 inch slack adjuster nut counterclockwise to thread the clevis until the hand tight. Apply the Loctite to the thread to tighten the jam nut 1. Note: the cotter pin securing the slack adjuster to the clevis should be reinstalled facing the wheel. E. Adjustment. Slack adjuster is self-adjusting. A procedure for installing new slack adjusters when the slack adjuster have been disconnected. Place the clevis installation gauge 12 with the reference appendix G so that it fits over the body with the larger clevis pin. 11. The slack adjuster is properly adjusted. The pencil can be placed in the center of the clamshaft 7 for the 6-inch single slack hole with the 14 on the gauge 12 with no good the gauge of the smaller clevis but 13 clevis pins of 13 should be aligned. Adjust the 3/4 inch adjuster nut in or out of the air chamber shaft 9 until the center of the 6 inch of the slack hole 14 of the camshaft are aligned. Slack adjuster replacement continue. Lubricating in accordance with appendix I of lubrication instruction. Turn the adjusting screw 4 with the clockwise until the brake shoe drum does not approve. The back off adjusting 4 3/4 over the turn brake drum should be removed freely. Want to ensure the brake drum moves freely after the completing of the step 5. Backing off the adjusting screw 4 3/4 over the turn brake drum should be removed freely. Failure to do so could result in the damage of equipment, serious injury to personnel. Following tasks: uncage the brakes, paragraph 219. 449 brake shaft replacement and removal of the cleaning of the inspection installation. Brake shoe with assembly with remove the slack adjuster assembly, remove the material seal, clean compound brush and gasket. Toolkit, mechanical general shop equipment came on number 1. General system safety instructions, dry cleaning, solvent, toxic, inflammable, avoid prolonged breathing of the vapors, avoid skin contact, keep away from the open flame. Removal of the caution, make sure not a damaged machine surface of the camshaft, removing the retaining ring of the equipment. The failure could result in expand the retaining ring with the remove of the camshaft, remove the flat washer 7 from the camshaft 10, expand the retaining ring 5, remove the camshaft 10 with the flat washer 2 with the spring spider seal 3, flat washer 4 from the axle spider 1 with the cam brake kit 9, discard the seal, remove the 4 screw with the 8 from the cam bracket 9, remove the kit from the bracket clean. 1. Remove the dirt and mud from the water over the brush. Warning, the solvent can burn easily, can give harmful vapors and be harmful to the skin and clothing to avoid injury or death. To keep it away from the open fire, use the well-ventilated areas. If the solvent gets on the skin, wash immediately with soap with the water. Remove the grease and oil with a cleaning compound in a rag. Dry thoroughly lubricate in accordance with air with appendix I with lubricating instructions. This is your brake camshaft replacement. Inspection. Inspect the damage and condition, spline for the replace the defective parts. Inspect for the rust or corrosion. Installation. Position the cam brake kit with a 9 on the spider bracket. The screw with the 4 screws. 8 with the line with the new seal. 3 with the flat washers. 2 and 4 with the expanded retaining ring. 5. Installing the camshaft 10 with the axle spider. 1 with the cam bracket. 9 with the install the flat washer. 7 on the camshaft 10 with the expanded retaining ring with a 9. 6 and install the camshaft 10. Follow on the test. Install the slack adjuster paragraph 448. Adjust the slack adjuster 448. Install the brake shoe assembly 447. 450 glad hand replacement. Removal of the cleaning, inspection, replacement, packing ring, installation. Equipment conditions, parked on level ground, brakes engaged, packing ring, cleaning compound, rags and brush. For toolkit and toolkit, mechanical, general safety instructions, dry cleaning, solvent, toxic, flammable, avoid prolonged breathing of the vapors, avoid skin contact, keep away from the open flame. Removal to disconnect the airline coupling for the rear of the glad hand coupling. Open the kingpin stowage box lid and secure it in open position. Warning, secure the kingpin stowage box and lid prior to the removing the glad hand. Failure to do so may result in serious injury. Remove the 3 bolts, 1 washer, 2 and 3 nuts, 3 with the glad hand, 4 with the gooseneck. With the remove the glad hand, 4 from the gooseneck. Clean mud for the dirt from the exposed surface with the water and brush. Warning. Solvents can burn easily with can give it off harmful vapors that are harmful to skin and clothing. To avoid injury or death, keep it away from the open fire. Use the well-ventilated area. If solvent get in the skin and clothing, wash immediately with the soap and water. Remove the grease with the cleaning compound with cleaning rag. Inspect and replacement. Inspect the glad hand body with the damaged threads, cracked dents, holes, or warps. Replace with the defective glad hand prior out the packing ring with a 5. Check of the wear of the deterioration. Packing the piston. Packing ring installation. Clean the packing ring groove and then glad hand. Partially collapse the ring with the fingers. Insert one side of the ring flange into the groove. Push the ring into place. Face the ring must lie flat with no twist or bulge. Installation. Position the glad hand 4 into the gooseneck. Secure with the 3 bolts. 1 washer 2 and lock nuts 3 with the anti-seize tape. The threads for the glad hand 4 with the airline coupling to connect the airline to the glad hand. Follow on task none. Spring brake control replacement. To this task calls removal of the installation and operating test leakage stuff, the equipment and condition, trailer parking lot with the grain brakes and gauges and wheels, chock, toolkit, mechanical general, the marker tag, tape, anti-seizing, and detergent. Removal for the front spring brake control valve, the tag, disconnect 6 airline for the 2 teeth, for the 2 fitting of the mid spring brake control valve, 6 for the tag, disconnect the airlines with the 1 T5 with the 4 fittings, 4 with the 1 elbow, 7. Remove the spring brake for the control valve, 3 or 6 from the air reserve. Remove the tips for 1 or 5 for the fittings, 2 and 4 for the elbow, 7 for the spring brake with the control valve, 3 or 6. Install the plugs or tape closed for the lining opening to prevent the dirt and contamination over the system. B. Installation. Remove the plugs and tape tape from the airline openings. Apply the anti-seize tape to the reds on the fittings 2 and 4 and T's 1 through 5 of the elbow, 7. And install on the spring brake control valve 3 or 6. Apply the anti-seize tape over the threads of the spring brake control valve 3 or 6. Install into air reserve. This is your spring brake control valve replacement. Bottom view and operating test. With glad hands connected with the towing of the vehicle, apply the brakes and check with the see if the brakes are applied with the semi-trailer applied with the properly release the brakes, check with the see if each of the brakes are released, top of the brake system when it's fully pressurized, check closely, shut off the cog valve with the emergency hose for the towing of the vehicle, to disconnect the glad hand tow emergency in the towing vehicle to make sure the semi-trailer brakes are applied automatically. Come connect with the glad hand with the tag, the emergency towing the vehicle, open the shuttle valve within the cog of the towing vehicle to check and see if the brakes are released automatically. Leakage check for the air system connected, they apply with the solution of the detergent water flange for the holding the diaphragms of the spring of the brake chamber in the glad hand tag. The surface is no leakage with the permitted tight nose with the flange coupling with the glad hands is required. With the brake system fully pressurized, close the shutoff cock on this emergency line with the towing vehicle to disconnect the glad hand tag to emergency from the towing vehicle to make sure that the 10 semi-trailer brakes apply automatically. Co-springs the brake control valve with the exhaust port, the solution of the detergent water. 3. Leakage must not exceed 1 inch with the end bubble within 3 seconds of the excessive leakage found to replace the spring control valve. Follow-on test, none. 451. Electronic control unit operating test. Operating test. The equipment is conditioned to trailer parked on level with the ground. Brake is engaged with the wheel. Chock for tools test. Equipment to tool kit mechanicals general. Operating test. Apply 12 volt DC power to the ABS electronic control unit. Dual modular valve assembly should click 4 times. The ABS indicator light comes on 3 seconds and then goes out, and then it indicate the proper installation. The operating test is complete. The ABS indicator light comes on and stays on. The check the system center installation. Remove the power for the ABS raise the sensor wheels so that they will be rotated. Apply the emergency air to the air, fill the air tank for the release the spring brake so that the wheels may be rotated. Repeat steps 1 and 2. Rotate each sense wheel one at a time at the rate of 1/2 inch of revolution per second. This rate equals the wheel speed approximately 4 miles an hour. If the ABS indicator lamp goes out and stays out, the proper installation indicator for the operation test is complete. The ABS lamp does not go out, then the sensor gap, the problem, the hard fault of the adjusted sensor gap, then necessary to perform the faulty code check of the refer to step 11. Step 9. Attend test sensor to each of the wheel location to disconnect the power of the electronic control unit. Assembly to disconnect the sensor electronic connected from the electronic control unit. Assembly connect the leads with the volt meter with the 2 wire component terminals inside of the disconnector connector. 1. When the check of the resistance, the meter must read 900 to 2000 ohms. To check the replace the sensor for the tube of the cables is required. 10. To perform a sensory gap adjustment, push the sensor tube into the holder 3 until the contacts tooth wheel of the 4 with the meet the gap between the sensor and the tooth of the wheel. The AC voltage should measure between tenths of a volt AC with the wheels rotated at the rate of 1/2 the volt revolution per second to make necessary repair the repeat steps 1 through 7. To perform faulty code check with apply the constant power of the electronic control unit mounted modular valve with assembly for more than 1 but less than 5 seconds. For remove the power for then reapply to the power of the ABS indicator light should repeat the appropriate blink code to refer to the table 4 with the faulty blink code chart with 3 times to find the problem on the chart. Repair is required with the step 1 through 7. Alright, this shows YE1, blue, yellow 1, yellow 2, blue 1 and 2, equal the electronic control unit dual modular valve mounted with the sensor facing front view with a typical view. 415A, electronic unit operating test, faulty blink code action. Sensor blue 1, determine the sensor location, check the sensor installation, conduct sensor test, replace sensor, check the sensor extension list. 4, sensor yellow 1, determine the sensor location, check the sensor installation, conduct sensor test, replace sensor, check the sensor installation test. Sensor blue 2, determine the sensor location, check the sensor installation, conduct sensor test, replace the sensor, check the sensor extension test. Extension sensor wide yellow 2, determine the sensor location, check the sensor installation, check the sensor test, replace sensor, check the sensor extension tube. Alright, and then those were 542A, external ABS modulator valve, verify properly the electrical installation, check power supply, replace electronic control unit, refer to paragraph 452. Internal modulator failure inlet valve 1, valve 2, verify properly installation if the codes replace the electronic control unit valve 452. Intermodular failure inlet valve 1, failure, verify proper installation if the codes continue, replace the electronic control unit valve Unit 452. Internal modulator failure outlet valve. Verify proper installation if the code. Replace the electronic control unit. Refer to paragraph 452. Power installation. Verify the proper installation. Electrical installation. Check power supply. Check for the voltage reading of 11 to 16 volts. Replace electronic control unit. Paragraph 452. Electronic control unit failure. Verify the proper installation if the code. Replace the electronic control unit. Refer to paragraph 452. The SAJ 1708 failure. Internal failure. Replace electronic control unit. SAJ 2497 failure, internal failure, replace electronic control unit. General IO failure, verify proper electrical installation, check proper power supply, check the voltage reading 11 to 16 volts, replace the electronic control unit. Paragraph 452 following on the task. Or electric control unit replacement, removal, installation, and operating testing. Equipment condition, the trailer park from level to ground, brakes engaged, wheels, shocks, toolkit, mechanical, general, tape, anti-sealing marker, tag, detergent, warning, release all the pressure air system before the disconnecting of the components. Pressurized air can be serious personal injury. Remove all the power of the trailer with making the parts of the repair of the electronical unit. Barely to do this may result in a serious injury or death. Release all the pressure for the airlines identified, label the electrical cables. The airlines connect with the ECU, with the disconnect of the airline with the ECU, and then sealing the operating opening with the line for the tape to allow the ECU of the airport to tape the protective cap available. Disconnect the air electrical cable for the ECU sensor port for the seal ports will be taped and protective cap available. Loosen, remove the two mounting nuts of the black nuts securing the ECU to the bracket and remove the ECU insulation. Note the ECU dual modulator valve is supplied with the black protective caps on each of the sensor port, but the sensor cable is not plugged in the sensor port. The black cap must remain in the connector port to protect them from the dirt and the contamination. Mount the ECU with the trailer bracket of the orient ECU so the exhaust port face down, securing the 3/8 inch grade 8 bolts, negative lock nuts with the torque of the nuts with 18 pounds of foot plug unusual ports. Clean threads of the airlines, anti-apply, anti-seize tape the threads, connect the airline for the ECU following the label markers applied with the during the removal of the connect of the air electrical sensor cable of the ECU following label markers applied during the removal of the refer to the electrical diagram. Note when securing the sensor cable to the ECU, the sensor, the retaining clip must be pushed down with the secure the container connection. The retainer clips must fit in the groove of the sensor connector to ensure the proper connection. This shows the yellow 1, yellow 2, the blue 1, blue 2 on your back wheel axle with the main air reserve, then the dual modulator check valves, and the also your glad hand connections. Yellow 1, yellow 2, blue 1, blue 2, control port, supply port, yellow delivery exhaust port, blue delivery plugged out and use the following task. For a 52 ABS wheel sensor, remove the insulation sensor output voltage, the trailer parked on level of the ground, brakes engaged, wheels shock, slack adjuster backed off, tire and wheel removed, drum removed, tool test kit, tools mechanical general. Warning, the ABS electrical system working with the ABS, same precautions may be taken with the electrical system to avoid personal injury, the damage, electrical shock spark, the jet for the could ignite with the flame of the substance to disconnect the power of the system, but the manual repairs are made with caution. When welding ABS equipment to the vehicle, the trailer, disconnect the power with the connector for the ECU, with the disconnect the power of the ECU valve with assembly before removing the components. To do so can cause the fault to be recorded and stored in the ECU memory. Removal of the grasp of the sensor forward with the note, the cable tube, the everything twisting motion, pull the sensor out of the mounting block sensor for holder 6, remove the spring clip 5 of them from the spring holder 6, remove the fastener 10 for the holding the sensor cable to the other component, disconnect the sensor cable to 1 for the extension cable. Alright. B. Installation. Apply the mineral oil base grease for the refer to item 10 to the appendix F for the contain moly disulfide sensor and spring clip at the body. Sensor for the grease must be anti-corrosive, contain adhesive properties that will endure the temperature of negative degrees 40 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Push the spring clip 5 within the sensor holder 6 with the inboard spring with the split spring slip tab clip tab 7 and with against the spring holder 6 tape spring holder 6. Push the sensor forward with the spring clips 5 with it as possible. Rotate the sensor cable to the tube toward the brake chamber to over the brake cylinder 9 behind the axle with the use of the zip tie term to secure the cable to the axle between the brake with the spider suspension bracket. Locate the zip ties on one each with the model sensor plug with the continue with the route sensor cable behind the spring seat. Install the wheel body carefully so that the tooth wheel 8 pushes against the sensor for the adjust the wheel bearings. After installation, there should be no gap between sensor 4 and the tooth wheel 8 with no more normal operation with a gap that is 4/100ths of an inch is allowable. Sensor output voltage test. The volt meter to check for the AC outlet voltage of the sensor will be rotating at approximately 1/2 of the row of evolution per second. The minimum output must be greater than 2/10 of a volt AC. The minimum output is less than 2/10 of the volt AC. Push the sensor toward the tooth wheel with recheck the sensor output. Follow-up task, none. 453A brake chamber replacement, leakage shaft removal, the cleaning of the inspection and installation, equipment conditions, brake cage, materials, cleaning compound, anti-seize tape, detergent, brush rags, market tags, and washers. Toolkit system, mechanical general safety, and then dry cleaning and solve with toxic flame of the void, prolonged breathable vapor, the skin type, the contact, keep it away from the open flame. Leakage test, coat the air chamber flange with the soap of the water solution, air fitting to inspect the leak. If the leak is detected, tighten and secure the hardware softening efficiently to stop the leaks. No leakage is allowable. Check the no pressure side of each of the chamber for the leak is applying soap with the water solution. The holes in the chamber of the body for the leakage exist for the replace the air chamber. Open the dump valve with all the reserve the airs and allow the air pressure to bleed off. Loosen the lock nut. 6 the back off the slack adjuster nut 5 with the separates the slack adjuster cleaves 4 with the turning of the adjuster screw counterclockwise to release tension from the slack adjuster. Tag and disconnect the 2 air lines from the air chamber 7. Remove the 2 nuts 3 with the lock washers 2 with the air chamber 7 from the axle. Discard the lock washers. C. Cleaning. Clean the mud and dirt exposed surface of the water with a stiff brush. Warning, solve the current easily burn to give it off hand for the vapors harmful to the skin, clothes, to injure of the death. Can keep it the way the open form the youth valve ventilated. Dissolve the keeping of the clean water immediately with soap and water. Remove the grease and oil with cleaning compound using a soft cloth to dry thoroughly. Inspection. Inspect for loose or missing damaged parts. Inspect the air chamber for cracks or dents or holes or warps. 3. Inspect for rust or corrosion. 6. Insulation warning. And if the installing new air brake trim to make sure the cage prior to the installation failure to do so the result in serious injury, personal damage to the equipment, and reposition the air chamber to 7 down the axle with a screw with the 2 nuts with the new lock washers, 2 with the anti-sealing tape with the 2 airlines with the one connecting the airlines, all the drain valve and the air pressure air brake system, check for leaks, following on the task, adjust the slack adjuster and uncase the brakes. Front reserve maintenance, removal and cleaning of the inspection and installation. Equipment is worked on level, the ground brakes engaged, spring brake control valve removed, and testing tool kit, mechanical general, cleaning compound tape, anti-sealing rag, brush, mark tag nut, self-locking gasket. Removal tag, disconnect the air hose from the elbow the air hose 4 from the elbow 3, remove the elbow 3 from the air reserve 2, start to seal the outward reserve outlet 9 from the spring brake control valve with the tape, remove the 4 bolts 1, 8 washers 6 for the 4 self-locking nuts 2 for the 5 with the 2 gasket 7 from the air reserve 2 with the trail frame 8 with the lower removal of the reserve of the discard self-locking nuts and gasket cleaning. To prevent contamination, air system component to take care of the keep of the water from entering the reserve. When clean, mud and dirt with exposed surface of the water and brush warning, the solvent to burn easily give off harmful views, harmful to the skin, clothing, to avoid injury, definitely keep it away with open fire with well ventilated air, solvent, keep the getting on the skin immediately, soap in the water. Remove the grease and oil with clean compound with the clean self rag. Inspection. Inspect for loose, missing, damaged parts. Inspect the air reserve for the cracks and dents and holes and bulges. Inspect the bonding brackets for the cracks and warps and the broken welds. Inspect rust or corrosion and replace the defective parts. 454 front reserve maintenance continued. Install air reserve 2 with a new gasket, 7 with the trailer frame, 8 with using 4 bolts, 1 with 8 washers, 6 with the 4 new self-locking washers, 5. Apply anti-seize threads to the elbow 3 with the install the air elbow to the air reserve 2 with the connect the air hose with the 4 with the elbow 3. Move the sealing tape with the outlet and coupling 9 with the spring brake control valve and then apply anti-seize tape threads with the valve outlet coupling. Alright, 455, rear reserve maintenance. Removal, the cleaning and inspection, the installation, drain valve cleaning, and the drain valve inspection. Trailer parked on level, ground brakes engaged, wheels chocked. Spring brake control valve removed. Tools, mechanical general. Cleaning compound, gasket, tape, anti-seizing, rag, brush and marker, and nuts, and self-locking nuts. Tag disconnect air hose from the elbow 9 with the seal air hose with the tape. Remove the elbow 9 from the air reserve. Seal the reserve outlet 3 with the spring brake control valve with the tape. Remove 4 bolts 1, 8 washers 6 with the 4 self-locking nuts 5 with the 2 gaskets 7 from the air reserve the 2 with the trailer frame 8 with the lower remove air reserve with the discard with the self-locking nuts and gasket. Cleaning caution to prevent the contamination air system components. Take care to keep the water from entering the reservoir. Clean mud and dirt from the exposed surface of the water and brush. Warning. Solvents can burn easily, can give off harmful vapors, are harmful to skin, clothing to avoid injury and death. Keep it away from the open fire. Use well-ventilated area. If salt gets on skin or clothing, wash immediately and soap with water. Remove the grease and oil with cleaning compound and cleaning soft rag. Inspection. Inspect the loop for the missing damaged parts. Inspect the air reserve for the cracks and dents and holes and bulges. Inspect mounting brackets for the cracks and warps, the broken welds. Inspect the rust or corrosion. Replace the defective parts. Install air reserve 2 with the 2 new gaskets, 7 with the drain, 2 with the trailer frame, 8 with the use of the 4 bolts, 1, 8 in the washers, 6 with the 4 new self-locking nuts, 5 the anti-seizing tape around the threads of the elbow 9. Install the elbow to the air reserve 2 with the connect the air hose 10 to the elbow 9. Remove the seating of the 10. Tape with the outlet coupling 3 with the spring brake control valve. Apply anti-seizing tape to the threads of the valve connecting to the coupling. Hold the valve in position and tighten the coupling 3. Drain the valve cleaning. Warning, the solvent can be used burn easily, can give off harmful valve, harmful to skin, clothing. To avoid injury to death, keep it away from the open fire. Use the well ventilator. If the solvent gets on skin or clothing, wash immediately with soap and water. Remove the grease and oil with the cleaning compound with the clean soft rag. Drain the valve inspection. And inspect the drain valve before with the damage of the excessive wear. Replace the defective drain valve. Following on performance tasks, perform air reserve serviceability test, paragraph 456. Alright, 456, Air Reserve Serviceability Test. Task covered the serviceability test. Toolkit, mechanical general, detergent, item 8, in the appendix F. The serviceability test where the air brake system connected with the towing vehicle code, connection with the solution of the detergent, water, no leak and leakage, is permanent tighten leak connection to inspect the reserve of the damage of the corrosion, replace the air reserve that leaks if there is any damage or corrosion that could weaken the air reserve. Fall on task none. 457, dump valve replacement. This removal of the cleaning of the inspection and installation. The equipment to condition the trailer parked on level, the ground brackets engaged, the wheels, shocks, tools of test, equipment to make tools, kit, mechanical, general, cleaning, compound, tape, rag, brush, marker, tab. The removal of the disconnect, release the cable 3 from the dump valve 1, the remove the dump valve 1 from the rear of the front and the rear reservoir 2. Cleaning. Warning. Solvent can be easily, but it can give off harmful vapors and harmful to the skin and clothing to avoid injury. Death. Keep it away from the open fire. Keep the well-ventilated area. If solvent gets on the skin or clothing, wash them immediately with soap and water. Remove the grease and oil with a cleaning compound and the clean solvent rag. Valve inspection. Inspect the damaged excessive wear. Replace the defective drain valve. Installation. Apply anti-seize tape at the threads of the dump valve 1 and solve the valve onto the air reserve 2. Connect the dump valve. Release cable 3 of the dump valve 1. Follow-up test none. 458 for the air brake hose and the replacement and repair. This task will cover the replacement and repair. Initial setup. The trailer equipment addition. The trailer parked on level with the ground. Brakes engaged on wheels, shocks, tools, equipment, test scope, mechanical, general, tape, anti-seizing, tie, plastic. No air hose can be replaced and repaired depending on the length of the damaged section. If the damaged air hose is short, replace it. If the damaged air hose is long, repair it. Ensure air pressure has been relieved of the air system prior to removing the replacing and repairing the air line. See paragraph 421 line and ports. 422 anti-seizing tape. 423 tubing compression fittings for the general air brake hose and maintenance instruction. Replacement and repair air hoses are not ordinarily removed except if they need to be replaced with badly damage of the air hose must be replaced with the air hose must be tightly attached and connected to the serial air brake system. The schematic paragraph 459 diagram of the additional information. Following on the task, check the air brake system for leaks. Paragraph 456, 459 air brake system diagram. All right, the emergency control service line is a small line. The next brakes in is the control, and the most brakes is the margin, and then a dotted dash, a large dash, 2 dots is your supply, and this shows the A, B reserve, the main brakes, and then the the coupling glad hand, emergency coupling glad hand control. Drain valve front reserve 3, air reserve front with the 4, with the 5, the air brakes chamber, the front axle, 6, the slack adjuster, 7, air brake chamber, the mid axle, air brake chamber, the rear axle, electronic control unit, spring brake control valve, the rear with the drain valve, the rear reserve, air reserve rear, and spring control valve, brake control valve front. That's the air brake system diagram. Alright, section 8, wheels, hubs, and brake drum replacements. Alright, this looks like a short section, so we're going to read section 8, wheel hubs and brake drum replacements. 460 general, 461 hub brake drum replacement. General, this section provides information performing unit level the wheel hub and the brake drum repair on the M870A3 semi-trailer. 461 hub brake replacement, the removal of the cleaning, inspection, installation, and adjustment. Equipment installation wheel remove paragraph in the brake cage. Lock washer, gasket, gravel guard, cleaning compound, grease and brush, toolkits, mechanical, general, school, shop equipment, common number 1. Removal steps 1 and 2 the plow with the right forward hub of the drum only. Perform the step 2 the hub meter with the bracket that is damaged if the must be replaced with the right front hub and the drum only with the front wheel hub with the remove of the 2 bolts. 19 lock washers, 20 in the bracket, 17 from the hub meter, 18 discard the lock washers. Remove the nut, 22 with the lock washer, 21 the separate hub meter, 18 from the bracket, 17 remove the bolts, 19 lock washer, 20 in the hub, 7 remove the hub cap, 15 and cap the gasket, 14 in hub, 17 discard lock washers and gaskets. Alright, back off the 4, back off the brake drum with the 16 from the hub, 7 the bend the tabs on the tab washers, 2 for the remove the 3.5 inch outer bearing nut, 1 with the tab washer, 2 with the lock washer, 3 with the 3/7/8 of an inch inner nut, 4. A caution: do not remove the studs. Remove studs 13 from the hub unless the studs are damaged. 16. Remove the outer bearing set with the 5 and 6. Note that performing steps 7 and 8 if the hub is 7 and inner bearing is set with the soft set 8 and 9 or seal with the 10 or damaged to be replaced. Remove hub 7 of the studs 13. Remove the grease seal with the 10 with the inner bearing set 8 and 9. Remove the gravel guard 11. Discard the gravel guard. And that's what it looks like. 461 hub and brake replacement continued. Cleaning and inspection. Remove the surface of the dirt with water and brush. Warning: solvent can be easily with the can give the harmful vapor to harmful skin and clothing to avoid death. Keep it away from the open flame fire. Use the well ventilated area. If solvent get skin with the clothing, wash immediately with soap and water. Remove the grease from the oil with a clean compound. Dry thoroughly. Inspect the damage, rust, and corrosion. Inspect the brake drum without outer roughness and scoring. Inspect bearings. Refer to TM 9214. Inspect the cones for the crack, wearing, other damage. Remove the defective parts. Make sure there's contact material on the grease seals are intact and pliable. Installation and adjustment of wheel bearings. Note that perform step 1 and 2 of the inner bearing set with the 8 and 9 of the seal and seal 10 were removed. Packer inner bearing 9 with the grease of the insert bearing 9 into the hub 7 with the large outside diameter of the bearing toward the grease seal. Install the new grease seal with 10 in the hub 7 with the lip seal next to the bearing. Install the new gravel guard 11. Caution to avoid damage to the grease seal with the use of the caution with the sliding of the hub 7 onto the axle spindle 12. Slide the hub 7 with the studs 13 on the axle spindle 12. Packing outer bearings 5 with the grease. Insert the hub 7 with the large diameter of the bearing facing out. Insert the inner nut 4 using a 3/7/8 of an inch wheel bearing lock nut wrench. While rotating hub slowly, tighten inner nut 4 using 3/7/8 of an inch wheel bearing lock nut washer to the torque of 150 pounds. Foot per pound. Back off the inner nut with a one turn. Retorque the inner nut to 550 foot-pounds. Strictly adjustment. Try rocking the hub on the spindle. If the bearings are properly adjusted, the lateral movement on the brake drum will not be visible, and brake drum will be moved freely. If the movement is excessive, repeat step 7. Our 461 hub brake replacement. Continue to install the key washer if necessary. Back off the inner nut with the 4 with the so that the alignment pin and the inner nut makes made to the closest hole with the key washer. Install the tab washers. Install the outer bearing nut with the 1 with the using the 3/4 inch wheel bearing lock nut wrench and turn the nut 1 tight against the key washer 3. Torque outer bearing nut 1 to the 150 foot-pounds. Note: a minimum of 2 tabs must be bent down on the tab washer. Bend tabs on the tab washer against the outer bearing nut. And this shows the bearing bearing on the hub bearing brake displacement replacement. Alright, align brake drum holes with the hub stub and 13 with the slide drum 16 onto the hub 7. Install the new cap gasket 14. Position the hub cap 15 secured with a 6 bolt 19 of the new lock washer 20. From the right front to hub and the drum only, the hub dometer 18 was removed. Install the hub dometer onto the bracket 17 secured with the net 22 and lock new washers 21. Position the hub cap 15 on the bracket 17 with the hub dometer 18 secured with the 6 bolts set and 19 on the lock washers 20. Alright, follow-on tasks. Install the tire assembly in paragraph 3.8 and uncaged brakes, paragraph 2.15. And that should take us up to section 9, gooseneck hydraulic system maintenance.